Happy Tuesday, Tyler.
Happy Tuesday. Merry Tuesday? No, doesn't work. Happy
Merry
Tuesday.
Tuesday.
Happy Tuesday.
Awesome. Well, today we're talking about something kind of interesting, kind of goes against the grain of being a marketing agency, but there are times when it is a super bad idea to hire a marketing agency.
This is true. We have been
There
hired
are.
sometimes when it has been a bad idea for the client to hire an agency. I'm sure you all have
Yes.
if you run an agency as
Mhm.
well.
Or if you don't and you have hired a marketing agency, there could be a chance that maybe you hired a marketing agency when it wasn't a good idea.
Yeah.
So we're going to talk a little bit about that today. And to kind of kick the conversation off, I'd love to ask you the question, what are some things that an internal team can do for a brand or for a company that a marketing agency cannot do?
It's a great question. Part of it depends on how big the company is, because oftentimes that will depend on how big the internal team is. I would say a couple things that jump off the page for me are generally if you're thinking about both of them, and you're thinking about an agency external versus internally. An internal agency, if you will, or a department has one client. So it's literally like the only thing they focus on is that single individual company that they are part of. And so if you think of if we as an external had only one client, you are going to be way more responsive because you can be. You're going to be able to bend over backwards at any moment, pivot, change strategy at any moment. Shoot, I said pivot, shift, nudge. What other words you can use besides the word pivot?
I don't know. I like Pivot.
Pivot. All right. You pivot strategy. So communications are going to change. Drop of a hat, somebody walks by your office with an idea, you can jump on it if you want, because probably you've got some sort of autonomy to make that change really quickly. You're not necessarily having to scope out projects and try to stay within something. Usually it's pretty loose. So, I mean, those are some of like the obvious things for me that kind of come off the page
Mhm.
because of the fact that those are oftentimes the things that people have expectations for or unset expectations for when they work with an external company.
I 100% agree on that.
Anything
And
you'd
some of the
add?
things, yeah, I was just going to say, some of the things that I've seen be challenging when a brand outsources or a company outsources is to expect an agency to um, know your products the way that your employees
Yeah.
do, or to know your services the way your employees do. They might know a lot about your industry, they might know a lot about you as a company, but they should always be, especially if there's technical content that needs to get written, it should be run through your team.
Yeah.
It should be how your salespeople sell it, and it should really be what you're offering. To expect a marketing agency to be able to help you define your services more or your products more, that's not what a marketing agency is for. A business consultant might be more for that. But to have that expectation, I think I've seen that happen. I'm sure you have too.
Yeah.
And it's just that's not what a marketing agency is for.
Yeah. I would say the other thing too that I'd add is just that you as an internal team have better access to other departments.
Mhm.
So say for
Yeah.
instance, you're in your internal marketing team, you got a bunch of initiatives going, there's leads coming in, and the sales team is not able to close those deals. Well, you're able to start asking a couple more questions that potentially an
Mhm.
agency that might have that not have that access or inroads into those other teams might be able to say. Maybe you're getting feedback on product or service that that company provides that you're able to have input into.
Yeah.
So you've just got more of a reach to the full company and all the different departments within a company that it takes to execute product or roll out product or service comparatively to an external vendor like an agency.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. So to flip that question, what are some of the things that an agency can do that an internal team cannot do?
Yeah, another great question because it's honestly, it all depends on the size of the agency, size of the engagement, size of the scope, all those such things. But for the most part, I would say agencies are really good, at least the right type of agency is really good at strategy. And part of that, and I would say from a strategic standpoint, is they're able to look at the landscape bigger than just the space that they like an individual company would occupy. Like an internal company is going to have a hard time looking at outside of what they have done in the past, whatever window of time you might be looking at. Whereas an agency is likely working with numerous clients, ideally kind of in that surrounding industry or within that exact industry. And so they're able to kind of, hey, paint didn't work. This one worked. This let's take this piece from this one, this piece from that one. And they're able to really have like effective impact on different things because of just the I suppose, viewpoint that they have. Maybe that's,
Mhm.
the 10,000 foot viewpoint or 30,000 foot viewpoint, whatever. So I would say strategically really good at it. And being able to look at things through a unique filter because of the fact that they're not, they're not like, oftentimes when I'm sitting in a strategy workshop or something like that, I'll tell the client, most people in the room, they've been drinking from the same Kool-Aid for a long time, is often what I say. It dates me a little bit because Kool-Aid's not a big deal anymore, but that's okay. But oftentimes, like if you're an internal team, you literally have just like, that's all you live and breathe is your product and your service for a long time. And so you don't necessarily have the same optics or filter that you might see to process like solving problems or approaching things uniquely or whatnot. And so I'd say that's another thing that's a plus on the agency side. Sometimes you could consider it like horsepower. And so if you're trying to push something forward fast, oftentimes an agency can be helpful because they could throw more people at it and it can be in a shorter scope or a shorter time window. So that's helpful. And then I would say one of the things that I've noticed over the years is consistency. And so an internal department can get pulled in numerous directions, like I said earlier, which is potentially like a positive. But if, say, for instance, they're trying to get out 5 pieces of content a day on different platforms or whatever that number is, they could get pulled from that because they're working on something else, over here. Whereas an agency, if you're contracting with them to do this certain thing, you better believe it'll continue, or they're not the right agency because they're not, they're not trustworthy in that area or whatever. So I'd say like consistency is a big deal from like an external standpoint, because that agency is going to like, they will knock that out over and over and over again, whatever that task might be. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I really like that. And I think too, one of the things that we as agencies have that I forget sometimes clients don't have access to, we have subscriptions to so many marketing tools and research tools that's like just part of the cost of being an agency, where a lot of times companies can't afford subscriptions to all the tools that we have, that we give our clients access to through the work that we do. And so sometimes, like even when it comes to keyword research or content creating, design, like we have really powerful tools. And not individual companies don't always have that.
I'd also say too, like it's a great point, like the tools side of things reminded me of just training. And, I would say from a marketing standpoint or marketing team standpoint, externally as, owning an agency, we're always learning, always training on things, always, leveling up to a new subscription or a new tier or something to where our team's just getting better and better and better what they do. And that's on our dime. That's on our, internal cost structure. And that's 100% on us. It's not the client. And it's sometimes hard if you've got like 1, 2, 3 marketers on your staff to go, hey, and you've got maybe a CMO, maybe a director of marketing, likely just 3 people working for a CEO or something. Sometimes it's hard to have those people have that knowledge set and continue to build that and have that be a priority. And so oftentimes people can be maybe a little bit more expertise or deeper knowledge in some certain subjects if you're hiring an agency.
Yeah. And even thinking about it, like as an example, like our team has made like how many thousands of landing pages? Whereas an individual marketer might only make a couple or maybe a dozen in their career. And just the experience behind like, how should a landing page be set up to convert? How does that change over time? Is super valuable information.
Totally. Same thing I would say like with copywriting. I mean, the amount of reps that our team has writing copy for different clients compared to internally, great. That internal team be the subject matter experts, interview them, pull the content out of them, but oftentimes it's presented way better if you get an outside voice to it.
100% agree. So what are some of the tripwires or signs that a company might have that it's time for me to pull in an outside agency?
Yeah, I mean, I would say if you've gotten to the point internally that you feel like your ideas are kind of stale, it's hard to admit that oftentimes. You got to have some self-awareness there. But, if you've been doing the same thing for the last however many months, years, quarters, whatever measurement you want, and you're trying to do something different, that can be oftentimes a reason to reach out and get some fresh ideas, fresh perspective. I would say if you have operated and you've ridden so I guess so end the first idea. Second idea, one of the things I've seen is if you've ridden a wave of something. So I think of, finance, mortgage, real estate, these are top ones, but like if you've ridden that wave and you're like, oh yeah, I'm good. What's going to happen maybe when the market cools off or when something changes? I'm not talking like, the floor drops out or any of those things. I'm just thinking, hey, when it cools off, and you're not able to just take the cream from the top, but you actually have to start working for some of those leads. what does that look like? Because there's a chance that you might need some help like lifting in that area. And probably by the time you need it, it's a little bit too late. So I'd think of if you are in that industry or in one of those industries that hasn't had to work too hard to get your leads or get your business or grow your sales, there's a significant chance that you're riding some sort of a wave there. Great, you probably develop a great product, great service. Those are all great things, but there's a reason that they're in that spot. And if you want that to continue, you might need to have some outside support on that. So that's like another idea. I would say too, if you have developed a really good sales team and you're able to close stuff and you've got some amazing talent in that sales team and they're looking for more opportunities and you have capacity to grow your business, but those opportunities aren't there, that can oftentimes be a reason to reach out to an agency because you're really looking for more leads. Like you're looking for a way, how do I grow my business? How do I get in front of more people? How do I amplify our message? How do I, bring awareness, whatever that verb is. But like that can oftentimes be something you want to look for is if your sales team has capacity, you have capacity as a company to continue growing, but you're just not in the front of the right people. That can potentially be the fact that maybe your internal resources or something aren't quite aligned or whatnot. What other ideas? Amanda, what have you seen?
Well, the time that I've seen agency relationships start off really well actually is sometimes when there's new leadership that comes into an organization. Sometimes maybe an old agency relationship has been there for a long time just because the relationship, or a new leader comes in and they want to restructure the team or focus on doing different things, and it's really helpful to have that agency support. And also when a new leader comes in, they might have ideas or instincts on things that they need some research or somebody else to support on implementing it or on backing it up. And it's really helpful to have an agency that can say, yeah, what they're saying is right. Like, yeah, absolutely. We have the research to back it up. It's just going to be kind of easier to help bring new ideas to life that way.
Yeah, that's good. That reminds me of the same kind of concept as new management or leadership, but like new software, new platforms. We do a lot. I mean, it's probably not a secret. We do a lot of HubSpot work, and oftentimes you kind of just need like a kick in the right direction to get things started. You might have somebody in your team that's great at it, but there's a lot of heavy lifting at the beginning of moving to a new platform or integrating in new software tools or whatnot. And so sometimes bringing in experts for that can be super beneficial for just like time, just getting somewhere faster, that we've seen with people that have hired us at least. So
yeah, I think that's super true. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, now we know when not to and when to.
I know, I love it. This is a great topic because it's so true of like trying to highlight, well, when is it not the right time to reach out to an agency? And then obviously the opposites of these are true of when it's the right time too. But I think it's great. I love it. This is a great topic. Thank you.
Cool. See you later.
All right, see you.